Welcome to the Mad Ones. My car that is very used to the heat of Florida sure doesn't like the cold, and now the alarm goes off randomly throughout the night, keeping the whole neighborhood up. Host Cam Harless. And with me, as always, is your favorite axe throwing, dirt track racing, hillbilly loving, Russian czar sympathizing, Orthodox influencer, hostess, Miss Jessica Green.
Man, you've got my number, dude. That is the best intro yet. I really appreciate that shit. Thank you.
I try so hard. So, how are you, Jessica? How has the last week been?
I'm really good. I finally don't have COVID anymore. So
No, yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting not being, on death's door. My husband's boss told him that he was surprised that he made it without a vaccine. And I'm like, does he mean you didn't because you didn't die? Like 99% of people don't die. What do you mean? It's like he said he was just surprised. I'm like, okay.
Well, I tweeted this earlier, but I was thinking someone was like, "Oh, well, I tested for COVID yesterday and I had COVID, and then today I tested and I didn't have COVID," and it made me think of The Walking Dead. And I was like,
Yeah,
in The Walking Dead, they find out that everyone has the virus that turns you into a zombie, and as soon as you die, you come back to life as a zombie.
right.
COVID's kind of like that, except instead of being raised from the dead as a zombie, you just get a bitch ass cold for a week or two.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was too. Like that is an accurate description of the COVID-19 virus as far as
It's
my experience goes.
because we had it in our house, and it was I was mostly just like irritated because I mean it wasn't good, but it wasn't like different than a flu. Like, oh, I had the flu, that sucked, I got over it. Like I
Right.
I, I feel like maybe it's just Omicron, I don't know, but it's like this stuff is so they make it sound like it's the worst thing in the world. But then again, I don't
Well,
have 17 different comorbidities.
right, and you're also not 75 plus.
That's true.
But I will tell people that this variant seems to be if you test in your nose, a lot of tests are coming up negative, and then if you test in your throat, you get a positive test. So if you think you have it, try testing your throat because that's how we found out. Because
I
they
just think we all have it. I think
don't
it's
tell you
all
that.
it's in there. I think it's just
Yeah,
there. I think it's just part of life now. And I think
in your
Omicron was the
throat.
real vaccine. That's all I'm gonna say. Take me off
Okay.
YouTube. I dare you, Susan. I dare you. All right. So we have a show for you. We're not just gonna, yap about having COVID last week, both of us. But this show is 100% brought to you by the fans and patrons. So hit like, subscribe, and join the Patreon. If you want an occasional earlier episode, one of our episodes this month will be an early episode. People who are patrons will be able to watch it live and comment and have their comments up. And, if you don't join, you won't. So, sucks to suck. But also we have Zoom hangouts when I decide to show up. And you get, my eternal, what's the correct word? Because last time I said gratification, and that's not it. I'm
Oh,
not going to gratify you this time.
he wants to gratitude you.
I'm going to gratitude the hell out of you. But you could also grab a shirt, a mug, a tank from wearethemadOnes.com/store to help us. And that, you get to put our logo out there and people get to go, what the hell is that you're wearing? And you go,
Mhm.
oh, well, this idiot and Jessica talk every week and you should watch it. So, but before, we need to get to
I've
the
told people
actual.
it's a band. Like if I wear the shirt out and people ask me what it is, I tell them it's a band.
I mean, it does kind of look like a band logo. I feel
Right,
like I've done okay.
right.
But tonight we're joined by one of the boyos, a farmer, a family man, a bird owner, a woodworker, an American spirit smoking incarnation of the American spirit itself. The man with the manliest hands in the game, and he's definitely more rugged than you, Mr. Whip and Spoon. How you doing, Whip?
Hey, buddy. Hey, Jess.
Hi.
Wow, that was quite an intro. Thank you so very much.
I try. It's
All right.
like my goal every week is to get some comment off of a guest on whether or not I did a good job introducing them. I also haven't had any alcohol in a month, and I just had a little bit of the Buffalo Trace, so I'm in a good place. I've lost like 25 pounds. I don't know if you can tell in my face, but I've lost like 25 pounds since the end of last year.
To be fair, you have this gigantic beard.
Yeah, but like my wife was like, "Oh, have you lost?" She's like, "I can see more of your cheekbones," and I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, they exist. There's also a cleft under here that you'll never see."
Oh.
Baby, does
saw-
this bourbon make my face look fat?
I saw a lady with a cleft chin the other day, and I thought that was such a strange feature in a woman. I've never seen a woman with a cleft chin before. I don't know if you guys have.
I mean,
I mean, I did.
my daughter has a little bit of one, but it's not
Oh,
like
okay.
deep or anything. But they get them from us cleft chinned men.
Oh, okay, I get it. I didn't tell her that. I wasn't like, how odd.
Holy shit.
So, Whip,
Yes,
one
sir.
thing I joked today that podcasts are just to talk about Twitter when you're not on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so I do want to start there because that's where I met you. It was
Sure.
in a Twitter group chat. And it's, I think, the best Twitter group chat on Twitter because we don't invite everyone in. Only every now and then there's an addition. Jessica got invited, I think, at the end of last year. Like
I don't know how.
it took by she guilted me like a woman does.
This
And
is so
and
not true.
I put her in the group chat.
If we were really podcast partners, I'd be in your group chat.
That so didn't happen. I thought it was only dudes in there. And so I was really surprised. He just added me one day and it was like, do I belong in here?
What was
Am I gonna see sausage? And I did
yes.
immediately
Yeah.
see sausage.
Well, it's not sausage, it's usually Whip's balls.
It's usually balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
Kyle's
like-
balls.
It's like the potatoes, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well, what's
it's the
funny
mash to the banger. Yeah.
is up until like the last several months, most people in that chat didn't have their real names. It was just like I was the guy with the name, and everyone else had different pseudonyms, monikers. And so he's like, my wife would be like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm talking to Whip. I'm talking to Mustard. I'm talking to Pizza." And it's like these are not human names.
Are you fucking hungry or on a social media app? What's going on here?
And who is Whip? And what does Whip and Spoon mean? Is this a sex thing?
It actually is. It actually
Not
100% was that's where the name came from. You want to start there?
Let's start there.
Start where that came from. Okay.
Because I know your
internet
real name now.
monikers.
I won't share that, but I know your actual name.
Thanks,
And
buddy.
it's point of pride. Point of pride. Every time I learn someone's name.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you. Really. So let's see. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago at the outside. I was just coming off my last stint of being homeless. I was learning how to cultivate psilocybin for fun, profit, and also conveniently some mental health. Surprise, surprise, being homeless and then trying to, while working 90 hours a week, 2 different jobs, still living out of your car, will add a bit of depression to a man's life. So if you talk to a doctor about that doctor is going to tell you that there's a pill that will fix you. And he is probably lying and being told to pay you that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Talked to Chris about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, man, that dude was like, all right, you got a bit of a temper, got some depression. We're going to start you on this 10 milligrams of this generic for Prilosec. No big deal.
It's a heartburn medicine, isn't it?
Oh, did I say Prilosec?
Prozac?
The other one? Prozac. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Because I live off Prilosec.
You should get the fuck off of Prilosec because it will give you osteoporosis, and also it is inhibiting almost all of your mineral uptake.
Well, okay, it's actually
Not
omeprazole.
wrong.
I don't know if that's Prilosec or not. All I know
No, it
is
is.
that I'm a chunky boy, and I have what's
Omeprazole.
called a GERD, and
Wow.
so I get a lot of the heartburn like constantly. So it's like if I don't have that, that's why I'm losing the weight right now. Is because when I'm not fat, I have heartburn. So
Can
that's
we
part
put
of
a
the goal.
pin? Can we put a
Yes, let's put
pin
in that
in the
You were on
Prilosec? Because
Prozac.
we will literally
Yeah.
come back to Prilosec from
Okay.
Prozac.
I'm gonna fact check that. Go ahead.
Fact check my Prilosec Prozac. So this dude's like, here, we're going to give you 10 milligrams of Prozac, and it's going to lengthen your fuse because you've got a bit of a temper. Well, motherfucker, 5 TBIs will do that to you. Yeah. So About 6 months later, I was on a much greater dose and was feeling completely suicidal. Nothing worked. Nothing I did made a fucking bit of difference. So I quit taking them. And then I went on a date, and this chick and I hit it off, and she taught me how to grow mushrooms, and I did that for about a year. And microdosing every day, taking a little bit now and then, being off all of the depression meds, smoking a ton of reefer, and doing odd jobs.
Yeah.
Took about 11 months of that. My head went back to a place where I could be closer to the present, yes, but also closer to the man I used to think I was before whatever, before
Right.
addiction and depression and all sorts of shit.
Right.
So so I did that for about a year, and then I laid off of those, and then she and I didn't work out, and I got a job, but I got my own apartment. I got a job, like another job, and things were going pretty good. And I was like, dude, what am I going to do? I got to make more money than I'm making.
Yeah.
So
That's like,
right. Fucking tell me about it. So I tried a side hustle, and I had always done woodworking. Like my grandpa taught me how to run a lathe and just how to work wood at like age 8 and 9. And I've been doing it since then. But at the time I was in North Carolina and I didn't have any tools. So I bought a thing called a pocket jack made by an American company. I forget their name. Anyway, super nice company. There's a great company that make great knives. And Flex Cut, that's the name. Flex Cut. Anyway, so I started carving spoons, and I started working leather, and I was trying to figure out how to sell spoons and fucking leather belts and wallets and bags and shit on Instagram. And I was like, well, what do you call yourself? And my ex-girlfriend was like, well, if you made some of those belts into spanky type things and maybe some of those spoons were paddles, you could call yourself the Whip and Spoon for people who like things like that. Yeah. And it worked okay. I made a little money. I made a few things that I'm really proud of. And I also severed the nerve in this finger right here.
Oh man.
Yeah, I clipped it with a wood gouge. And
pretty sure I clipped the nerve in that finger the other day.
yeah, that was a deep one. I remember that.
Oh,
Did you get stitches?
Yeah, I got 2, but like the tip of my fingertip, numb.
Is
Nothing.
it?
Yeah, numb. Nothing there.
It'll come back eventually, and it'll be tingly.
Yeah,
and it'll
And
suck.
itchy.
And
Yeah.
itchy. It'll
Oh,
suck
this thing
forever.
all right here is itchy right now. Just but yeah,
When
go ahead.
nerves
Sorry.
when nerves grow back though, you get like internal itching that you
Yeah.
can't scratch. It's maddening. I know
Yeah.
all about that. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like with tattoos, because you get the itching from the because it's healing on the inside,
Yep.
and like you can't scratch it for more than one reason. First, because you can't get to it. Secondly, like you don't want to, because you don't want to screw it up. But like I get the internal itch. It's a but I want more tattoos anyway.
Nerve itching has been a big part of my life ever since the summer between sophomore year and junior year in high school. I was went up to a church camp with my cousin, and we were coming home from the church camp. About 5 miles from home, she swerves off the road and hits a mailbox post. And it's a country mailbox post. It's got like 17 fucking mailboxes on a 2x8. Yeah, it was one of those. And it came up through the windshield and hit me in the face and split my face. So like, I ended up getting like 500 stitches in my face. Wow. And yeah. So then for years, girlfriends would love to go, bink, and my face would go, just like your finger. Just like your fucking finger, man. That whole nerve just across my, oh, that finally died down. God bless.
Yeah.
So you were making sexy spoons and whips and stuff, which, by the way, I do know something about this because I used to work at a leather store. And so we had our daytime people who were making bags and stuff like that, and then we had the leather shop after dark. I can't tell you how many times, like, some people that just gave me the freaking, like, skeeved me out would come in and be like, hey, how do you do this? And I'm like, I can tell you everything to do to, because I teach classes on how to do construction and stuff like that.
Sure.
I can teach you all these parts, but I cannot tell you specifically how to do that thing that goes up your butt. Like, I've got no history with things in my butt, so I can't help you with that particular thing. But I'm gonna guess glue.
Don't put leather things up your butt. It's impossible to clean leather. You'll never get it out of the leather.
Well, it wasn't typically the leather part that was going in. It was some sort of metal or plastic thing that was connected to a tail or.
So
yeah, I follow Spider Mommy on Instagram. I get the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I surprisingly have
Twitter,
like some history with that in particular, but it's outside history. Like, please don't tell me what you're doing. I don't want to know. I don't want to know who your partner is. Please just leave me out of that part of it, for the love.
So you found yourself carving spoons.
Jessica's like, please stop talking about butt stuff.
And that's where the name came from, you know?
Right. Okay.
So then when I came to Twitter, I was on my my first account, and then that got nuked. And I was on my second account, which I think I just named Whip and Spoon because I somehow linked it to my Instagram or some bullshit, and then that got nuked. And anyway, I'm on my fifth now, so whatever. VPNs and voice phones are fun. Also, I need to talk less shit on Twitter sometimes. Maybe take it easy a little bit.
We got hooked up on Twitter, and it had been a couple of months went by before I saw any evidence of actual spoons having to do anything with you. And you showed this wooden spoon that you had carved, and I said, "No shit, he actually whipped a spoon up! Like, that's awesome!" Like, even remember, I showed my husband in bed, and he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "He whipped up a spoon." He goes, "Oh, that tracks." Yeah. No, that's awesome. I just bought my husband a bunch of old school woodworking tools for his birthday. He's getting into primitive bow making.
Oh, so my God.
I bought him that thing with the two handles that shaves and all the various stuff. I don't know. I know eventually we're going to have to make a run to get stitches is what I know. So
there's somewhere here on my workbench, I may have it. There's a thing that comes with all of the flex cut tools. No, I don't. It's a yellow and red Band-Aid holder. And it says,
"Oh, okay.
Enjoy the time-honored tradition of woodworking." And frankly, the time-honored tradition of woodworking is putting fucking Band-Aids on your hands.
Yes.
Okay. So I should get him a first aid kit to keep down in the garage with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. Super glue was developed as portable stitches for the battlefield.
Okay.
So super glue and Band-Aids, you're fine. That's all you need.
Okay.
You're good.
My wife won't let me use super glue for because I would have glued this.
What about liquid skin? Even liquid
That's
skin?
not the same thing, though.
It's not the same thing, but
no.
I think it's actually better for you. It's probably less toxic. That cyanoacrylate or whatever the fuck is in super glue isn't super awesome for your fucking body.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But that's the thing. Like, I have leather working is the same way because I've done some leather working, and it's amazing how people are like, "Oh, you can't cut towards you," and it's like, bitch, I can't cut away from me on a table when I'm cutting a big piece of leather. Like I have to do some scoring, and I was scoring one time, and it slipped, and it caught my knee. I had a hole this big on my knee, and it cut right through my jeans. And my wife is like, you need stitches. And I'm like, no, I just need some butterfly Band-Aids. I'll be good. And that's how I do. Like, the only reason I actually did go in for this is because I couldn't hold this together. Like, I needed to sew it, and I don't have that. I mean, I can sew.
Isn't the
but
deal with cutting that when you're cutting toward yourself, you have more control than when you're cutting away from yourself?
Oh yeah.
Because
that
I know,
too.
like with drawing, when you're painting or drawing, when
Pulling
you're
lines
making
is
a
easier
line,
than pushing lines.
pulling is
Yeah.
So I would imagine with cutting, it's the same way.
Yeah. No,
I'm
it
trying to
is for sure.
bring my limited experience into the conversation somehow.
No, you're 100%
Yeah.
on point
Right.
with those
Sure.
things, and there is a correlation for the hand and the eye that
Right.
that drawing and painting will impart
Mhm.
to you, that does then translate to woodworking and leatherworking, all sorts of different things.
Okay.
You know, like, we live completely in the past. It's impossible for us to live in the present. Our consciousness only sees what just happened. So like that flow state that you'll find when you're painting, when you're drawing, when you're woodworking, leatherworking, when you anything where you can disconnect, that allows you then to be more in the moment,
Yeah.
like actually in that moment, and just letting the firing here make this happen, make your fucking line happen. You can see the curve as it happens, but you may not see it before it happens.
Right.
You know, like, those moments are kind of a form of time travel, allowing us to be actually in the moment that we're in,
Yeah.
rather than always in the last moment that happened. Man,
Well, and
that's
it's like,
if that's all the time travel I ever get, fuck, I'm good, dude. That's great.
And I know
Flow
it's
state.
such a simple thing, but it's like when I was doing leather and I was doing construction, you know, I would be doing I forget the name of the knot, the sewing method now, but I would be throwing two
The two needles
in at the same time, and it was like I was in the future, because I wasn't thinking about what happened. I was thinking about where I'm going. And I mean, even though it's simple and it's kind of like almost brain dead in a sense, because you're just doing an action, it's like there was that moment where my hands, even though they hurt afterwards, they didn't hurt in that moment, because I was going and creating. And that's happens with when I'm making video stuff and when I'm writing. Like, when I'm writing, that's a big one, because I'm not thinking about, oh, well, did this sentence sound good? I'm like in this moment of crafting something in the future that I haven't gotten to yet. I'm like, the typing is only mechanical because my brain is ahead of me.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is that flow
that.
state, for me at least, flow state is dependent on muscle memory. So like, I can't achieve it when I'm trying to learn a new technique, but when I've practiced that technique 100 times, something sort of innate in my muscles takes over and just does it sort of without my brain commanding it to do that. And that is such a coveted state of relaxation. Like, there's nothing that compares to being in creative flow state. And it's hard to describe it to people, but when you know, because you do a creative activity, there's just nothing like it. And
the only thing that I would say is kind of similar, and it's what makes it hard for me to read at times or listen to someone speak, is because I hear something and then I start formulating my own thoughts and trying to figure things out. And then I have to stop and I have to go back and go, okay, so what did they say? What was I just reading? Because there's that moment of like learning just by thinking rather than learning by being told. That's just this beautiful little moment that I love, but it's like a pain in the ass when I'm trying to learn like actual information. Like I just finally finished that book on the resurrection. What was the name of it? Surprised by Hope. And now I'm reading a book called, which, by the way, I think that this is interesting probably for our audience. I'll ask you what you're reading next, Jessica. And if you're reading anything, I don't know if you're much of a reader, but I'm reading How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth. And so that's what I just started last night. So I'm excited about that because it's about genre and it's about how to read these different books and what they, I'm excited about it. But I love it because I read a sentence about how to read something and then my brain goes to all of those moments I didn't understand before, and I start making connections, and I'm like, oh, this is like nirvana to me.
Yeah.
Are you reading anything right now?
No. Well, yes, I am. I am actually reading a book by Brian Sanderson. It's like 3 or
Brandon
4
Sanderson?
books. Brandon Sanderson? Yeah. The dude that
Yeah,
finished the Wheel of
fantasy
Time
guy?
series for Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like 3 or 4 books, 5 books deep in his Mistborn series. And I picked it up at the airport and started it. I'm halfway through it. It's sitting on my fucking dresser, and I just haven't finished it. But I love the dude's work, and I used to read a lot of things concurrently, and then my phone happened, so now I read one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the book that I mentioned. Carl got excited because he knew what I was talking about. It was a book that I read the second edition of in college, and I decided I wanted to read because it's gone through 2 editions. It's in the 4th edition now, and I decided I wanted to read it again with fresh eyes and remember things. So I just wanted to mention, hey, Carl, I see you. But are you reading anything, Jessica?
I just finished reading a book called The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. She wrote a book called Circe. She does historic fiction. So this was set during the Iliad, the Trojan War, and it's about the relationship between Achilles and his second in command, Patroclus. And so the 2004 movie version of Troy artlessly explained that Patroclus, I'm sorry, was Achilles' younger cousin. Well, he wasn't his younger cousin. He was his companion. They slept in the same tent.
Was he his butt boy?
You can make of that what you will. I would call them more than lovers, because your lover and your wife,
Pederasty.
you have separate lives. She does her thing, you do your thing. When you're together in battle, you do every single act that your lives depend on together, and your lovers. It's like more than that. So it's definitely not for people who are like uncomfortable with the idea of homosexual romance, but it's ancient Greece. Like, it is what it is, you know?
I would get nothing out of it.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I cried my eyes out at the end. So I definitely recommend that book. And then I'm moving on from that to read Thinking Orthodoxy, which is by Dr. Jeannie Constantinou. I have a really ambitious Goodreads goal this year to read 50 books. And because I have an actual glasses, I have a proper glasses prescription now. I didn't get my glasses changed for like 5 years, and so I couldn't read because my eyes would get really weak and I wouldn't be able to like read words on a page. Now that I have new glasses, I can actually read, and I am tearing through books right now. So I'm catching up on what I've been missing, and I'm really looking forward to hitting that goal, because I've been out of the game for a while, and I'm a reader. Like, I love reading, so I'm just really glad I could actually get glasses that work, and I can see now. So.
Are you nearsighted or farsighted?
I have an astigmatism. So I am slowly going from one to the other.
Football-shaped eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started as one, and then now that I'm sort of like in the peak of my adulthood, it's evened out, and then I will shift toward the other as I age. Sure. So yeah, it's I can't see, basically.
Dude, I went super fucking nearsighted in like the 2nd grade. Like -6 and 1, like -6.5 in one, and -5 in the other. Like Coke bottle fucking lenses, and I've worn glasses since the 2nd grade. I tried some contacts for a little while, and I too have a big old eye with an astigmatism and a flat spot. And if I blink wrong, that fucking contact is just gone. Goodbye. Goodbye forever.
So when I was born, one of my eyes sat in the middle. And so I was a baby with glasses.
My little brother did that.
They had to be strapped onto my head because a baby won't wear glasses.
So dumb.
It was
100%. My little brother had that. Holy crap.
Yeah. So, but luckily, I also had to wear an eye patch When all of the pictures of me from like 2 and 3 years old are of me wearing an eye patch.
You're like little
And so-
baby Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, little baby Dan Crenshaw.
But we know why he wears.
But that
an eye
actually
patch.
fixed it, and it stop it.
But
it
it
actually
fixed it.
fixed it, yeah. So wearing the eye patch made my other eye move to where it was supposed to be. And now I just have to wear glasses. But eventually, so throughout the history of the women in my family on my mother's side, like 3 back, except for my mother, have lost their left eye. And so eventually I may have to wear an eye patch. And I have decided if it comes to that, I'm going to embrace it and wear extravagant eye patches, rhinestones, feathers, matching my outfit, leather ones, just whatever, like
Whip
really
will make
getting
you
into
one.
it. Yeah. Oh,
You're more of a leather worker than I am.
I'll wear a wood one.
this
I'm
point.
like, whatever. I just want people to be like, look at that fucking eye patch. That's cool as shit. And, instead of, those people who they put the Band-Aid over it and it's like weird.
It's just
That's
long.
not going to be me. Yeah.
I would be that guy who'd be like, you're going to have to see this. And I'd keep my eye open all the time.
Like prop it open.
You have to look at like have a stick just right. Like you're going to see this.
Just wear glasses with a fake eye printed on one lens,
Right.
and then lift your glasses.
Like, can you tell?
I don't know. What does it look weird?
When you move the other one around, I suppose I could tell a little bit.
Well, your story took a tragic turn there that you're gonna eventually be fucking blind again. I was already like halfway through the story. I was like, I can't wait to be like, oh, now she's getting blind again, gonna have to wear an eye patch. And then that's where the story went. Now I feel like an asshole for even thinking it.
No, I heard that early on, and I used to really fear it when I was younger. And then I thought, well, if that's something that's going to happen, my fearing it is not stopping it. So
Nope.
I've decided that if it does happen, I'm going to embrace it. You got to just roll with the punches, man, and be grateful for the eye you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to look more like Fat Thor than I do.
Wow. Thanks.
So wait, you wanted to talk about Prilosec? I'm curious about this now.
Okay.
I
So
looked it up. It is a mesoprol.
A mesoprol, see?
Yes.
That's the generic name for Prilosec. So the thing about Prilosec, and I was on Prilosec for like, oh man, I got put on it when it was on prescription by my doctor in my early 20s.
Dude, let me just real quick note, when there was a prescription of it that I had, I gained weight like a mother. Like I blew
like a
up
pregnant
the first
woman?
time. Yeah, like I went from around 190 pounds to 240.
Damn.
And I couldn't breathe.
Whoa.
Now it's fine. I think they've done some better stuff in the last 10 years. But like I blew up like a balloon.
The first one that came out was called Nexium, and it was I think it was esomeprazole, like omeprazole. And then they updated it to omeprazole when it went generic. And so like I got put on that first prescription, and I didn't get off of it until about 6 years ago when I was doing like growing shrooms and stuff, because like I would try to get off of it, Cam, and I would get horrible like indigestion, like, oh, it's the worst thing. And
I would aspirate it.
oof, yeah, me too, bud.
That's what
Oh,
it's
God.
Do you have to sleep on one side?
Yeah, my
sometimes?
left side.
Yep. Me too, buddy. Welcome to the club. Same thing. Still happens. However, it took me almost 6 months to titrate down off of Prilosec,
Right.
because you have to like cut your dose by X, and then for X period of time, and then you have to do it again. But in that next dose cutting, you have to, or what I did was supplement with famotidine. Which
they don't sell that anymore. Famotidine and like a bunch of other ones are off the market because I got off of omeprazole. because apparently it causes
But
cancer.
guys,
Yeah, it causes fucking cancer, and also you are uptaking 0 minerals while you're on it. It completely cuts your body's ability. Like you're just not getting nutrition from your food like you should. Period.
but the FDA approved it, you guys. It's safe, right?
You guys remember when the FDA, just like, was it this year or last year? Fuck you, Dusty. All right, can we address the audience for like 2 seconds here? These fucking
I
savages.
wouldn't, but if you need to.
Just for a
Oh, by
moment.
the
All
way,
right,
just
I want to
real
go back
quick,
to
I
Menger.
do want to say he did put up on Twitter that at some point in this episode he's going to say a secret phrase, and whoever DMs him at Unwhipped Spoon on Twitter first gets 2 NFTs.
Yes.
So if you're listening, wait for that. Look for that because he's going to say a secret phrase, and if you get it, you get some NFTs.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. So the anyway, so first thing I saw Carl about the dovetail joint. Carl, nobody's making dovetail joints, anybody. We're just using biscuit joiners. You can buy a machine at Home Depot. It cuts a little thing. It sticks a biscuit in it. You slap a little glue, you're good. A dovetail joint is, frankly, for the Amish or the Mennonites, buddy. So
Dovetail joints are for the Amish.
Yeah, dovetail joints are for pacifists, and that is where Carl Menger is. So that's why he's asking.
Fair,
because he's Amish adjacent. I've
never actually made a dovetail joint in my life, though I probably should. As for Dusty, man, I'm trying. Well, I don't know what you want. I'm not smoking any faster.
He wants 4.
It's not going to happen. We're not doing a meme. We're just living life because we're people and not memes. So, dude, you got to get off Prilosec. I don't know how you got to do it, but you got to talk to your doctor. And this is not financial advice.
Like like I said, I've lost about 25 pounds in the last month and a half. I'm hoping to keep that going down to a good weight because I did not have heartburn when I weighed less.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about it, but if I can get down to my goal, I'll be fine. But I'm not going to stop before then because I'll kill myself. I will kill myself with that heartburn.
I'll do some research.
Some of these side effects that they list for this drug are effed up.
100%.
Yeah, bleeding or crusting sores on the lips, blisters, bloody urine. I mean, it's basically like getting the clap.
Dude, I was on what was the doxycycline last week? Yeah, and it was murdering me.
That's right. You are not the only person I've heard of recently having a bad reaction to antibiotics lately too.
Like if you Google doxycycline side effects, one of the big hits that you'll see over and over again is about how doxycycline ruined my life.
Wow. You know, I had to take that last year when I had an ear infection, and it caused me severe stomach pain.
Do you know it's not even like an antibiotic? It doesn't kill the bacteria in your body. It stops it from growing so that your body can take care of you. That's the idea of doxycycline. It's like an inhibitor.
Replication.
Yeah. But it doesn't kill it. And so your body has to do it. So it's not like one of the antibiotics that like just takes out your gut flora and kills everything in there. Yeah. It stops it from growing and it's like, hey, body, do your job. But it wrecked me. Like I had vertigo every day. Like I had to cancel our last Bible study because I was going to throw up if I didn't lay down.
That's not optimal.
It's not. It's suboptimal even.
Yeah. It's far below desired.
There's a lot of articles too when you type in like doxycycline side effects. There's a lot of mental health side effects too.
Oh yeah, one of them is suicidality. It makes you want to kill yourself.
Suicidal ideations.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So like and so it's so funny because like at the beginning of this week, we were supposed to have a patron hangout and I just completely forgot that it existed because I was down. I was blue and I was like, I hope this doesn't have to do with that, but I'm glad that I got off of it regardless.
Yeah.
Dude, sure.
heart palpitations, stomach trouble sleeping, suicidal ideation. It's like, damn, I'd rather have the ear infection, to be honest. Holy fuck.
So many of the things I was told by everyone that I trusted to tell me things
Mhm.
have just proven to be bunk and wives' tales. And it's
Yeah.
happened like over the past few years. Like, oh, no, that's not reality at all. Who told you that?
Right.
Good Lord.
I think the last 2 years, I mean, I know it's been going on for a long time now. But I would say especially over the last 2 years, I've noticed this whole thing about sort of the veil is being peeled back on a lot of what we assumed to be established, trustworthy types of ideas. And it's not like a slow burn where you slowly learn over time that these things are not correct. It's like all of the sudden somebody ripped the veil away and you just see the sort of screaming hellscape of falseness that has been promulgated on us since we were children. And it's like, wow, I can't trust my doctors. I can't trust my teachers. I can't trust anybody who I thought might have actually like given a shit about who I am and how I turned out. And it's rough.
Did you
Go
see
ahead.
that guy on Twitter the other day when I had said something about I don't trust doctors as much as I used to, and he kept asking me the same question, and so for like a day, all of my tweets were almost all of my tweets were Riddler gifs.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that.
This is my whole timeline. It's
Yeah.
Riddler. Yeah.
And it's not
Dude,
it's not just COVID narrative either. It's like
No.
way more than that. It's other
No.
things too.
It's a ton of other things. Oh my God. I'm supposed to ignore the fact that I've seen video with my own eyes of our president talking about weird deals with Ukrainian companies, and you're not getting fucking foreign aid, Jack. And well, son of a gun, what do you know? He blah blah blah. Dude, like, you're on camera doing it.
Yeah.
You're on camera, and I'm told that little dog didn't just yank that curtain aside. Dude, I saw that dog yank that curtain.
Mhm.
And now I'm being told that we're going to war for natural resources in a country. Let me check these fucking notes. That literally was the country that motherfucker was on stage talking shit about.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'm told that what I fucking saw wasn't what I saw. And it's not just that, dude, man. It's like, oh, it's fucking everything. It's everything.
Yep.
Well, and what's wild, and you live in California, and you're an almond farmer. Which, by the way, I'd love to talk about how you started being an almond farmer. But you live in like maybe one of the states that believes in freedom the least. Like
the least.
Like California and New York are both. They don't like freedom. They don't like guns. I feel sorry for you because you can't own what I can own, and that's a huge bummer.
It is a huge bummer. I don't own a single firearm, Cam, and that is a damn shame. Not one. Gosh, I just have a bunch of pocket knives.
And some of those I doubt are legal.
Some of those never leave the house because they are probably not California legal, and I won't be caught on the fucking streets pulling a charge because, if there's one thing that being addicted can teach you and then not being addicted, it's that you can catch a charge and you don't have to be high. And there are people who make laws and keep making laws and stack laws on top of those other laws. And there are so many of them that every single one of us are probably felons.
Yeah.
If someone looked hard enough.
Well, I mean,
if you piss someone off, you're going to be a felon. Yeah.
But it's like you live in California, which I understand kind of where you are in some ways because you've talked about that you love the land, you love being in California for that, but you hate all of the laws and all the stupid nonsense. And it's like that's how I feel. I'm in Florida right now, which is great. We have some good stuff going on here, but I love Alabama. Like you can think that I'm stupid for
It's
this,
beautiful.
but my God, I love that state. I want to live
It's
in that
beautiful.
state. It's beautiful. But I don't want to live necessarily with these stupid laws and these stupid people. And so it's like, it's really hard. But I understand in a sense that you're living in this place where it's like, you want to be able to own a 30-round magazine, but you also love being where you are. So, but how did you get there? Because you said you were in North Carolina. Are you originally from North Carolina? Or are you from California?
No, I'm a fourth generation Californian. My great great grandpa, he was married, and he and the kids and his wife had tuberculosis, and they were back in Pennsylvania Deutsch country, because we are German descent for the most part. So his wife had tuberculosis. She was a lunger. So they got on a railroad train and went to the end of the line, which was Kansas City. And they got off that train and they started a farm. And then she died. So he married the nanny and moved to Texas.
Like you do.
Like you do, which is where a little bit of the English comes into my father's side of the family, because the nanny was English, apparently. So they moved to Texas. They were there for a little bit, and then they moved to California. The ladyboy situation in California is top notch, but we started this fucking game. What the fuck are you talking about? People come from Thailand to here to do that thing. You don't know what you're talking about. So great grandpa and the nanny moved down to Whittier, California, and they started a farm. My great grandpa was born shortly after they arrived here. I think he was probably conceived in Texas, to be honest. And then my great grandpa had 3 sons, and they grew oranges and walnuts and avocados down in Whittier, California. And then in late 30s, 37 or so, 36 or 37, they moved up to my grandpa and his 3 brothers, or 2 brothers, sorry, all 3 of them moved from Southern California here up to the Central Valley. And they kind of just spaced out their ranches roughly, they're all about half an hour apart. So they're not up in each other's business, which is about the right distance for brothers to be from each other.
Yeah.
You can get to them, but you don't have to see them every minute. It's kind of how that worked out. Plus, they all had big families. Grandma and grandpa had 7 kids. So then dad was the first boy, and he had 5 older sisters, and then he had a younger brother. Yeah. They were German Baptist, and the German Baptist ethos traditionally is to be, a man should be in the world because you were put here by our Creator, but a man should not be of the world. You don't need a bunch of technological advancements. You don't need vanity things. You probably shouldn't have a fucking television. My grandpa, for my whole life, my grandpa drove 4-door Mercedes station wagons. And what he would do is he would get one that grandma could drive and it was new. And then the old one became the workstation wagon. And he would line the trunk with shaker pads so he could throw muddy, greasy shit in the back of this Mercedes and just do whatever he needed. He had a shovel that he cut the handle down. It fit right in there. Everything was great. And his theory was buy quality and you only buy it once.
Yeah.
So it works out. And he's was a notorious cheapskate. Just the cheapest dude. Holy shit. Unless he wanted something and then it really didn't matter what it cost and he would justify it. It's a fair, I guess. Right. So anyway, so everybody called him the governor because he just kind of ran that big old roost, 7 kids and grandma and animals and every other thing. And then, dad was born here in this town and he went to high school and met my mom, and Um, he grew a mustache, which was kind of a thing that German Baptist men don't do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The full beard with no mustache. It's got some religious significance. I
Okay.
think is how they kind of justified it at first. All I know is that my grandma Miller looked at a guy that we hired once to work on our ranch, and this guy was pretty whiskey tango, y'all. He was about as trailer park white trash to come. And this guy, he had a gunslinger mustache, just a long. And my grandma, that mustache bothered her until the day she fucking died. And that guy hadn't worked for us for 20 fucking years. And she would still, Bert's mustache really bothered me.
Oh, that's a wholesome tale, to be honest.
Sure.
I one time Googled why the hell Amish people don't have mustaches. And what I read, grain of salt, obviously, was that the rich people and like the politicians would have a mustache at that point, and it was a sign of elitism. And so that is why that started being shaved off, was because they didn't want to look like the elites and the politicians. And I found that interesting. But I will tell you, like, I have a pretty strong mustache, but my wife would straight up murder me if I shaved down to it, because she's a full-on beard woman. Like, if I pretend to shave, she starts drawing up divorce papers.
Fair.
Wow. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't grow a beard because I'm patchy, because my face got put back together. So I get some weird patchy spots, and it's just, doesn't work for me.
I think I would look so hilarious with a beard, with a mustache, though. I think
I
would
kill it.
I would giggle at myself in the mirror. I swear to God.
I would want you to do mutton chops where your sideburns connected to your mustache.
100%.
I've done that before.
100%.
When I'll see if I can find the picture, but it was when I couldn't really grow like strong. I did it one time, and it was hilarious. And I just know, God, it would be so funny at this point if I did that.
That's interesting. The mustache being removed to distinguish yourself away from the elitists, because that kind of reminds me of like during the French Revolution, the people who didn't have the short breeches, like short breeches were a sign of the rich people, and so they called themselves sans culottes. Culottes meant breeches. And so they were the people who were the revolutionaries were basically called the pantsless. I just always thought that was kind of funny. So we are the pantsless. Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's an image you want to sell, but all right, bro. Like,
the French have a certain je ne sais quoi to everything they do, really, and I don't know what it is.
I'm just happy that when I did the ancestry thing, that French didn't explicitly come up on my totals. That's all I've got to say.
Holy fuck. I've never done the ancestry thing. I won't.
I find it interesting. I know that they're probably going to give my DNA to the federal government, whatever.
They are the federal government.
Well, it's the Mormons. So like really what I'm most worried about is them baptizing dead people in my name.
Oh, that's right. Ancestry.com is the Mormon one, isn't it? I think it is.
Is it really?
Yeah. No, I think that one's tied to the Mormons. Yeah. So then 23andMe, that one was literally started by fucking CIA DARPA money.
Wait a minute.
23andMe chick is related to, okay, so there's like a weird triad of relations, okay? And I'm going to get the exact placement wrong, but all three of these people work for all three of these companies.
Okay.
So Sergey, I think it's Sergey Brin, and I want to say he has something to do with Google. And then one of the chicks that either runs or started YouTube, and then the chick that either runs or started 23andMe. Okay. So like within those three people, there's a husband, a wife, and a sister. And I forget how all three of them are related, but all three of those motherfuckers are related and tied together in that weird tie. YouTube, Google, and 23andMe.
And they're Mormon.
YouTube and no, Mormon
okay.
is ancestry.com.
Okay,
So-
okay, sorry.
So Google and I think YouTube, but Google for sure was directly started from DARPA grant money.
Well, I
Like-
mean, Google bought YouTube,
Well, okay, yeah.
so
Can I ask, and I don't know if you know or not, but I'm just curious, why do the Mormons want your DNA?
well, the Mormon. Okay, so that is. I did kind of mention why. One of the things the Mormons do is they do a lot of ancestry themselves, and one of the this is speculation. One of the things Mormons do is they baptize dead people. And so that when you hear that, you think, oh, they find the corpse and baptize it. No, they get a live person, and they baptize them in the name of dead people, so that they can.
That does not seem okay.
It's not okay for me. Like, I hate that, but I think that that's part of what it is the fact that they want to be able to baptize everyone who's ever lived.
What if you're already dead and you're in the paradise that you were granted by your creator, and then some Mormon jackass baptizes a 25-year-old who needed some credits in Mormon baptism system, and then all of a sudden you're yanked out of your paradise and you're on whatever Mormon planet.
You're just on Kolob all of
you're
a
just
sudden.
like, oh,
Wow.
But okay, so luckily, at least in my theology, they
Right.
don't have any say in
Okay,
anything.
fair.
But but yeah, like it's still like the idea that they could is super offensive to me. Like that they would
Yeah.
they would even think to do that, because I
That
doesn't
know
seem
that they
alright.
baptized Abraham Lincoln and stuff like that.
That's rude.
Oh,
He
yeah,
fucking
here's
deserved
class.
it. Actually,
Rude.
he deserved to get taken to whatever planet he's got taken to.
Some weird
Screw that
Mormon
guy.
planet. No, I get
Let's-
it. I like, okay, fair enough with Abraham Lincoln and all, but just in general, it's rude. Like
Yeah.
people make their choices, and it's very rude for you to come along afterward and presume to baptize people who are already dead.
Quest
My
said, remember
God.
when they were baptizing Holocaust victims?
Were they
I
seriously?
But I buy it. I believe it.
That's not okay. Mormon Church, stop it. That's
Mormon
not
Church, stop it.
okay. Look, say what you will about the Mormons. That's messed up. But say what you will about the Mormons. They give one hell of a Christmas concert. And so I'm willing to forgive quite a lot of things because of that Christmas concert. But not baptizing Holocaust victims. That's rude. Don't do that.
You know that Chris is ordained, so we could theoretically at Y'all start baptizing the boyos in the name of all those Mormons. I would love to be baptized in the name of Joseph Smith and let him get yanked out of whatever into whatever. Turnabout is fair play, baby.
I have to tell
Wow.
you though, Y'all Holla was a typo that I made that I thought was just the best thing in the world. One day we got to make this happen and call it Y'all Holla.
No, that's
So it's like
It's-
it's like Valhalla, but like a trailer park, or
Yeah.
right? Okay.
yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Like,
the
I'm
fun
down.
side.
It sounds fun. I mean, like, I've never had a terrible time at the trailer park. I don't live there, so I get to leave. You know, like
So you made me think of when you said they put on a good Christmas show. It made me think of the episode of It's Always Sunny, Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Yeah.
where Larry David met a Mormon and he was like, I just love your boys choir. No one sings as well as a castrated boy.
Do the Mormons still have a castrati choir? There's no way. There is no way they still have a castrati choir.
I can't imagine that's legal. So listen, okay, a couple of years ago, a couple of Mormons came to my door, and it was like the middle of January, it's freezing cold outside. And so I said, okay, I mean, do you guys want to come inside? I'll make you some hot chocolate. Or like, I was just trying to be congenial because they were like obviously freezing. They said, we can't go in your house. And I was like, oh, how come? They said, well, some years ago, a lady kidnapped 2 Mormons who had come to her door. This is a real story. They couldn't come in because some woman had kidnapped them and kept them in her basement and used them for very non-Christian purposes. And so now they're because the kids that they send, less than Mormon purposes, for Mormon purposes, yeah. So they're not allowed to go inside anybody's house anymore because they send these like 18-year-old kids who don't know anything about the world out to knock on people's doors. And some lusty old cougar like kidnapped them and took them down into her basement. This is a real story.
She stole their bikes.
I immediately went and Googled that as soon as they left. And I was like, oh man. So yeah. Never a dull moment with the Mormons.
Can I bring it back real quick to the Almonds and because of the kidnapping story, I'm actually going to bring it back to the Almonds with Bert. Okay. This guy with the mustache. So this dude was not smart. He was a big dude. Okay. I once saw him get pulled by his hair. He had this long. Do you remember that band Nelson? Those twins with the Scandinavian long, like Legolas locks, like Nelson, the Nelson twins. Jessica's gonna find him now.
I'm Googling.
All right, Jessica, pull that shit up. So like,
pull that shit up, soup can.
Right. So like,
oh shit.
I right. Okay. So this dude is like, all right. So now let's paint a picture. We got the Nelson twins hair. We've got like a red Viking mustache, kind of like Cam might do if it was a handlebar. This guy was like 6'6" if he was 4 foot tall, and he was all of 280 pounds. Okay. And I saw this dude get yanked by his hair. Grandpa's goose went and grabbed his hair because he was underneath his truck working, and his hair was like strung out on the gravel behind him, glistening in the sunlight. And that goose got a fucking handful of hair and yanked him out in front of that truck. Man, geese are bastards. So anyway, yeah, right? Okay, so the dude with bangs, that's Bert's haircut. He had those bangs. That was his hair color. That's it right there. 100%.
I really like his turquoise earring.
Should I get one?
No.
No.
Fucking no. No.
Not that you'd ever see it, but...
So Bert's story ends up, my grandma's intuition about his fucking weird mustache ended up, Bert hooked up with this chick and they moved up to Tahoe and they weren't getting along and they were fighting and Bert decided to kill her.
Bert.
Bert, right? Fucking Bert. So Bert gets a can of gas and puts it all over the house they were living in and lights it on fire. And oh, by the way, lit himself on fire and they both died in a fucking fire.
Wow.
Bert.
By the way, speaking of setting yourself on fire, have you ever had someone choose you to be the person to talk them out of committing suicide? Have you ever had that happen in your life?
Yeah.
That's like the rudest shit. I mean, I know that you're looking for attention and stuff, but when I was like 18 years old, there was this guy that I didn't know. He just had a crush on a friend of mine, and he was apparently suicidal. And then like for 3 or 4 nights in a row, he had me talk him out of committing suicide by setting himself on fire. And I was like, I don't want you to kill yourself, but I also don't know you. So am I the guy?
That's a hell of a way to go, too. That's not like, there are quicker ways. I'm just saying. Wait a minute.
He was very flamboyant.
Look at that.
Jesus Christ. All right. So now imagine that dude with the bangs at about 280, about 6'6", rocking that mustache. Now imagine that dude and his girlfriend who looks suspiciously like the other one in the picture, but with bigger hooters. Imagine both of them on meth and having a bad time and then dying in a fire. Are you fucking kidding me?
What I need to understand about these chaps that this guy is wearing is that there's no way that he pulled these chaps on over a pair of jeans. So is this just a
That's how
jean
you wear chaps, though.
not these chaps though. Look at
No,
how
those
tight
are way
these
too
chaps
tight.
are. Right.
Well,
So
okay,
is the
let me
jean
just say-
part just sewn over the top and it's just like a little half moon of jean there? Like what is happening?
All I'm saying is when people
Yes, there's
describe...
a seam, and those legs. Sorry, Cam. Those legs are sewn onto those fucking pants. If I want to believe it's any other way.
So,
All I'm saying is that chaps by nature are assless, and you don't have to call them assless chaps because otherwise they would be called pants.
right. Okay. So these someone made these. This outfit is so confusing. Oh my god. Listen, so I do actually
Just do about 7 lines of cocaine in 10 minutes, and that outfit makes a ton more sense, kid.
Yeah, okay,
You're good.
all right.
That's all you
Fair
need.
enough.
Just whoo,
Fair enough.
high fashion right there.
I just wasn't, around for the late 80s, I guess.
Oh, it was quite a time.
Yeah.
So
So
wait,
listen,
Yeah.
we
So
did want to
almonds.
ask. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you work as an almond farmer in
Yep.
California, and the last 2 years have been stupid as hell. How has the supply chain stuff messed with you? Because I mean, that's all pretty. Is it mostly domestic, or do you have to deal with it, or do you just grow the almonds and give them to somebody? Like, how's that work?
Okay, so supply chain for us, as far as getting product out, hasn't really stopped yet. Okay, that's still moving. People
Okay.
are still buying nuts. Nuts are still moving. Where we, as farmers and small business owners, are seeing the supply chain issues is in our parts houses.
Okay.
Last summer, I needed a water pump for one of our shakers, right? No big deal. It's a standard 4-cylinder cat engine. I should have been able to go to the place and be on my way back with it in 10 minutes. However, I had to wait for it to come from Idaho, and this was last summer. And it has gotten worse since then. It's to the point where we just the other day, okay, so we let this dude borrow one of our tractors summer and a half ago, and dude ran it through a bunch of weeds and didn't blow out the air filter at all. And then the tractor just stopped working. Well, I didn't get it hot. Well, maybe you say that until I open the fuel filter or the air filter, and it's just full of weeds, and every part of my tractor is full of weeds and dust, and like, oh, you basically just broke my engine. It's overheated, it's dead. That's a dead engine. So over the last 3 days, we've been discussing the cost of replacing that engine. We can buy a new engine for roughly 20 grand, or we can send it to a repair shop and get the sleeves done. We'll have to get some bigger pistons. We don't think the crankshaft is messed. We haven't gotten quite that deep in it. And it's just like, okay, so we can't afford 20 grand for a new engine for this fucking tractor. And that guy that broke it, that's money gone. We're never getting that money. So we're going to fix it ourselves. But we started sourcing parts, and we're a month and a half out on some parts we need. Like a month and a half, dude. Are you kidding me? That's unheard of in my lifetime. And the older generation is still thinking that, well, it's because of COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
But you guys, you know Monica and Brad, you listen to the things they talk about, and like a lot of this, as they've mentioned, is 2008 and before that economic can being kicked down the field, and interest rates are artificially low, just 0% interest, really, for 14 years. And then all of a sudden we're at, I don't know, some abysmal rate, and it's COVID. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I think when I was on the propaganda report one time, I was talking to Brad about it, and I was just like, how many excuses can you make about the supply chain before you just go, hey, let's open it. Let's
Right.
let the ships move. Let's let the things move that need to move. Like, because there's a lot of other reasons as well. But the fact is, it was never, and I've tweeted this, you need to stop. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but more to me. But I need to, everyone, and I stopped a while back, but you got to stop saying this is because of COVID. It's not. Just point the gun in the right direction. This is due to the government response to COVID. That's the nicest way you can put it. But if they just open some shit up, we would be fine. But they close stuff down. Like, it's like Biden saying that he's made all of these jobs. You can't claim new jobs when you're the one who shut them down to begin with. Like, it's absolute
100%.
bullshit.
It's just lying. It's lying through statistics. Like the last 2 years, dude, at the start of COVID, there was a picture going around of Bill Gates sitting at his desk with a stack of books. And in that stack of books, you can see it in that picture. It says, How to Lie with Statistics. It's right there on a stack of books. And he put that picture out. And you can't tell me that any media that dude actually puts out isn't vetted and gone through. Like, he knew that fucking thing is in there.
Well,
you can't tell me that dude with that much going, like, this random ass stack of books, How to Lie with Statistics, that's been the last, it's honestly, if we're getting real, it's been the last 20 or 30 or 40 years of our life. It's been most of our life. But
all of mine,
like you said, that veil's come off and we can finally see it for what it is, to the point where I can personally look at that older generation, my dad, his cronies, and go, hey guys, remember when you told me that, hey, I voted, that's all I can do, you know? And remember when you told me, well, you know, it's just kind of the way of the world, it's just got to let it go. No, man, that's like a failure of an entire generation. And it sucks for me to say that to the men who I respect, who I know are hardworking, honest, decent Christian men who were lulled into a false sense of security about the reality of the world on purpose and by design, maliciously, by the people they were told to trust, by the people they voted for and trusted. And if there is one good thing, and I'll wrap this bullshit rant up. If there's one good thing out of these 2 years, it's that those guys who voted for George Bush because he was a fucking Christian. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You're going to vote for that guy because he's a Christian. I mean, to see those guys turn around is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I read a book last year. The title had the word boomers in it, but it was charting out like, and it makes so much sense. It's obvious when you think about it at all. But they started charting out like the pharmaceutical issues that the United States has had, and you can chart it against the boomers' life cycle. Because if you look in the 60s and the 70s, you get the weed and the not necessarily psilocybin,
LSD,
but the hallucinogens.
LSD.
Then you start hitting the heroin, you start hitting the crack, you get past the cocaine in the 80s, and then you start hitting the 90s, and it's all depression meds and all of this stuff, and it's affecting all of us, and it's all based on the life cycle and the choices of the boomer generation. And I was reading this and I was going, this is so clearly obvious. How did I never put this together before? That, like, I love my mother. She's one of the younger boomers.
Yep.
My dad, he's not with us anymore, but he had his times of stuff. Loved my father. But if you look at how our society has been affected by drugs in particular, it's tied inexorably from the boomer generation. And the things they
it's more than drugs too. It's everything is pointed in their direction. They sold out their children's futures in order that they can maintain their lifestyles. I mean, it's way more than drugs. It's the housing market. It's everything.
Right,
And
but it
it's
was just
all
that's so
geared toward them.
clear.
Yeah.
It's so with the drugs, it's so clear because it plays along the lines of the hippies to the uber capitalists to the sad sacks. Like it's amazing, and I was just like, how did I never pick up on this?
I'm so
Until
excited you
someone
mentioned all this.
wrote that. Like like I said, I love my mother, loved my father, but these boomers screwed us so hard.
You know that acid was, they'll tell you it was created by some chemist in a lab, but what they won't tell you is that it was a CIA chemist.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
they'll tell you that the Merry Pranksters and the Grateful Dead were a
Doors.
counterculture, but the chemist who made all of the acid, Owsley or Oswald, or I think it's Owsley, that guy was a CIA chemist. And the Merry Pranksters were funded by the CIA, and CIA doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists came to all those Merry Prankster, love, sex, magic blue light, and they were diligently taking notes while people freaked the fuck out. Okay.
No.
Jim Morrison, his father
It's a spook.
Not only was he a spook, his father was the I want to say Tiananmen Square, but it was the false flag that started Vietnam. His dad was the boat that shot the other boat that started Vietnam.
Oh,
Gulf of
USS
Tonkin.
Gulf of Tonkin. Thank you. Yep. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. So like Jim Morrison shows up out of nowhere, right? And love, sex, acid, all this shit. And the Doors or the Grateful Dead show up out of nowhere. Love, sex, acid, all this bullshit. And like the entire counterculture movement, dude, so many of those late 60s bands, they all came from Laurel Canyon. And at the end of Laurel Canyon, there's a military base. And I think the dude that played the Joker,
Heath Ledger.
No, it's either Joaquin Phoenix or the other guy who played the last Joker.
Well, Joaquin Phoenix, his family was in the Children of God cult with David Berg.
No shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, River and Joaquin Phoenix, their parents were in David Berg's cult, and so there's some other people too. But yeah, it's tied to cult behavior as well.
Okay, so there's a military base at the end of Laurel Canyon, and that military base was used it was a movie studio. And like Jimmy Stewart and all those movie stars we love so much, Ronald Reagan, all of those dudes made hundreds of thousands of B-movie propaganda films for the American government in that military base at the end of Laurel Canyon. And then some famous dude who played one of the Jokers lives there now. I can't remember.
What's that dude's name? Jared Leto?
That's the one. But that's where Jim Morrison came from.
Worst fucking Joker. Worst Joker.
You know, people say that, but like, maybe.
Well, I mean, okay, maybe Cesar Romero was worse in some sense, but like,
Cesar Romero was campy, but Cesar Romero was a comic book.
I'm just saying they ruined the Joker with that stupid Suicide Squad movie. Is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Is Jared Leto? Like, I don't know how he gets movies now. Like, I don't get it.
It's interesting because Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young are part of the Laurel Canyon group. And I noticed that a lot of the musicians who came out of that entire shtick, I guess we're going to call it, they're the ones who are like sort of bolstering the COVID regime.
100%.
So you have Neil Young trying to get Joe Rogan kicked off of
and Spotify is removing him from Spotify.
And they're like, okay, bye Neil Young, which is great. Big props to Spotify for not bending a knee to that. But I've noticed a lot of stuff about I've heard about the Laurel Canyon musicians as well, and all of their ties to the CIA, the ties of the counterculture, MK Ultra program, which was basically used to make their own people kill themselves. Charles Manson, right? So a lot of this stuff.
Sirhan.
is weirdly
just-
connected into controlling what would otherwise be a movement to liberate people from control from the federal government. And instead, it's used just like the woke movement is right now, which pretends to be about LGBT rights, racial justice, all of this different kind of stuff, focused outward instead of at the power structures. So
Yeah.
instead of attacking the power structures, which are said to be where racial injustice is coming from, they attack literally like people in their neighborhoods, their parents, things like that. Oh, did
Well,
I freeze again?
And
Bunch of white
you're
ladies
good.
hit a black dude in an elevator and scream Black Lives Matter. There you go.
Well, and
Come
it's
on.
like if you look at the people that I think they clearly paid and pushed for it, like the love, the free love, and all of these different things, the drugs. I feel like, and I have for a long time felt like obviously this is an op because they pushed them too far. Because it's like these were people who were questioning the Vietnam War, and suddenly they became completely ineffective at doing anything because they went in these like the opposite end of the pendulum. They went so far in a different direction. But let me ask you this. This is kind of off topic, sort of.
There's no
But,
topics at this point.
For me, I remember the first time I questioned the official narrative, and I always thought it was dumb where I first questioned the official narrative. But what was your first time where you were like, this doesn't make sense to me? Because mine was Kurt Cobain. I don't think he killed himself. That was my first time. That was my first time questioning the official narrative. Was me looking into that and going, this doesn't make sense. The way, because I read the suicide note and I read the tone and the writing shift after a certain point, because it is up to a point it was about him quitting Nirvana, and then it became about suicide. And the writing looks different. The way he's talking is different. And I remember seeing that being like, someone killed this man. But what was it for you? Like, was there any specific incident that you go, okay, so I don't buy this. I don't buy what they're selling.
This is going to sound dumb and weird. I was on a tractor listening to, I think, NPR on my little hand radio in my headphones. And it was after we invaded Iraq, because Afghanistan, because I don't know, 18 dudes with box cutters performed the greatest military thing of all time. James Corbett quote is the best thing ever. And like, that never really sat right with me. But then like, we're going into Iraq. Wasn't that the country your dad got fucking humiliated in?
Yeah. Well, and even so, just a random aside, there was a book that I want to say was written by George H.W. Bush. It was either him or W. But there's this throwaway line in that book where he talks about how his father had said that if you want to remain president for 2 terms, you have to have a war going on between those 2 terms.
Yeah.
Yep. You can't interrupt the patriotism.
No, and people, if they're scared of what's going on, are afraid to change leaders too. Even if the leader is bad, they're generally afraid to change leaders. I think that's what surprised me about Trump losing the election, if he did, was that, right in the middle of this, like the great pandemic, this horrible thing that's happening to the country, and we changed presidents. That doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't track historically.
Well, especially with all of the people who, when he was doing Operation Warp Speed on this so-called vaccine, that said that when he was doing it, there's no way I'm taking this fake vaccine. This is bad. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take anything that Trump did. And then as soon as he left office, the same vaccine is what's going to save the world.
And nothing else. Right. Nothing else will save the world. None of the things that humanity has done for however long humanity has done them, none of those could possibly work. And how dare you assume
Yeah.
to take risk for yourself.
That's true. Carl says that's how FDR stayed around so long. That is true.
That's
Because
true.
he had a war the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Nice, Carl.
And the other thing too is, and I didn't realize this until I actually got COVID myself. Me and my husband got COVID at the beginning of January.
I got it in 2020 in February.
Oh, did you?
And then
Well,
we got some variant later this last week or 2 weeks or whatever. But we had when that came out, when the first iteration of it came out, the novel coronavirus, every single thing, because they weren't saying loss of taste, they weren't saying loss of smell or anything like that, but like everything that was on the list originally, we had in January or February of 2020, and then we moved to Florida.
Well, what I didn't realize was that they offer nothing to anyone as far as early intervention goes. So any of the drugs that they actually have that would help you deal with COVID if it were going to turn into something serious, you're not allowed to have until your lips turn blue and you go to the emergency room, which at that point it's already too late to administer an early intervention. We were basically told, stay home, don't go anywhere, and if your lips turn blue, then go to the emergency room. So nothing was offered to us.
Well,
Nothing.
also
Criminal.
there was also a monetary incentive that I read about for intubating patients.
Yeah.
And I knew people who earlier on had COVID, and the doctors that they went to see didn't offer them monoclonal antibodies, didn't offer them any of the things that had
that you
any
shouldn't
kind of
say out loud on the YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't offer them
This
these
video is
things.
totally gonna get flagged.
Sorry.
Who cares?
My bad.
But no, like they didn't offer them these things. They waited until they were at the point where they were gonna die before they gave them anything. And so the only people that I know that made it through were the ones who went outside of the hospitals.
Mhm.
And it's wild. Like we haven't had a lot of COVID talk on this show.
No, we
And
haven't.
that was by design because I got tired of hearing it. But knowing people, even medical professionals who went to the hospital and said, "Hey, I need help with this," who knew what could help them because they'd seen it work in other people, and also because they had the body of knowledge to say this, just were ignored, and they had to go around the system in order to get the things that they needed. Like
there's federal money, buddy. There is imaginary federal money by the plane load, by the truckload, every step of the way. And the farther you can get someone along that chain of care in a hospital, the more money comes out of the back of that truck, dude. And it is all the way up to intubation and death. And it is a great jump, dude. Like, it's crooked. It's really crooked.
And I'm not trying to say what is or is not official about the medical system. I'm just telling what my experience was. Like we literally saw 2 different doctors. My husband and myself went to 2 different doctors when we tested positive for COVID, and were given basically the same response, which is just stay home, and if your lips turn blue, go to the emergency room. So this is just personal experience. It has nothing to do with anything else.
Sure.
But that experience is being echoed by a lot of people. And I wonder, when all of this comes down the pipeline, how many people who could have been saved by early interventions were denied it because of the level of corruption that we're going to find out about. I don't know.
And let me just briefly talk about the fact that there were psyops throughout this. And I don't mean it in this like high level thing. Of course it is high level. But what I mean is there were people who, because of the way they talked about masks, the way they talked about, social distancing or this, that, or the other, when they came down with these symptoms, it was almost like an original sin type of situation rather than I'm sick situation. These were people who felt dirty and gross, and that they couldn't tell people what had happened because of the way they had made to be. The system didn't fail. It did exactly what it was designed to do. But to these
100%.
people, they felt that it had failed them because they got to the point where they had symptoms that they had no control over. A lot of them vaccinated that I knew
Mhm.
personally,
Mhm.
and they felt dirty and gross and
Yep.
shameful. And it's
It's
disgusting that someone could feel shamed about
it's
what is described as something you can't control that comes from someone else, that comes through the air attacking you,
my
makes you
asthma.
feel like a bad person.
During the Middle Ages, it was believed that only sinners could get the plague. And it was also believed that it was carried on the wind. It was carried on a bad wind, and only the sinners could get it. And so
Ill humors.
ill humors, right? And so when Whoopi Goldberg got COVID like 2 or 3 weeks ago, her whole thing was, I can't believe I got COVID. I did everything I was supposed to do. I have 40 vaccinations. I wore 18 masks. I never went anywhere. I haven't been out to dinner for 2.5 years. And it was like, yeah, lady, it's not just something that happens to the bad people. And by the bad people, she means conservatives or people who don't believe in vaccine mandates. She couldn't believe that she, one of the good people, could contract this illness. And it would just reminded me
It's
so much of the Middle Ages
disgusting.
attitude about the plague, that only the
What
sinners get the plague.
I
Mhm.
had a friend that
Mhm.
went to a bad church growing up. And so when he walked through, because there are bad churches, there are good churches, there are good Christians, there are bad Christians. We're not going to, not all Christians are bad, not all Christians are good. Let's just get that out in the open.
Just people.
But my friend went to a bad church who told him one time he walked through the woods and he got poison ivy, and it was in a
Mhm.
place where he couldn't play drums for church that Sunday. And he was told, well, obviously you didn't have enough faith. Obviously, this is a
Wow.
problem with you. And this is a symptom that is a part of bad churching. It's a part of bad hermeneutics. It's a
Mhm.
bad theology. It's a lot of different things. But if you look at you can call it the COVID regime, you could call it the progressive movement. This is a religious movement.
Yeah.
And they, especially with Woodrow Wilson, progressivism came out of the social gospel. And so this is very clearly a continuation of the religion of the state, which is born out of the idea that the world can be saved through the state and through the
Mm.
social gospel. And so these people, the people who feel disgusting and dirty and bad and like, oh, I must have been a bad American because I got COVID, this comes from the social gospel. It comes from a perversion of truth, a perversion of the gospel, and I won't stand for it, and I don't respect it, and fuck you for making people think this way.
Oh dear. So I had on that note, I had another farm question for Whip, because I
Yes,
know we're
ma'am.
getting close to the end and I want to make sure that I ask this, because I had kind of, when I knew that we were going to talk about like supply chain stuff, I've read a lot of articles lately, even from like official sources, official sources as they are, who say that the food supply chain issue is a lot worse than they're saying that it is, and that it's bound to get worse over the next year. Is this something that you, as an actual food farmer, think bears out? Are they trying to scare people into just buying more product because they're trying to get the economy going? Or like, what is the deal with that? Because I do see even like the mainstream media sources saying, oh no, this food issue is about to be a lot worse. Like, what's your take on that?
My take on that is that the food chain supply issues seem to stem. Let's take the meat industry, for example.
Right.
The meat, those dudes, like, it should be, states should be able to write their own fucking meat laws. federal meatpacking laws just exclude any hope for like local producers to make it. They just you can't compete with fucking Tyson Foods, dude. You can't do it. You know, like I have a cousin who married into the Foster Farms clan, and like nobody's grown enough chickens to compete with Foster Farms and Tyson. No one. I don't care how many fucking plates of eggs at a farmer's market you can put out. You're not doing it. And a lot of their ability to keep a stranglehold on supply and distribution depends on, we have to have USDA federal inspectors, and we're short on those. That whole, like, I've heard a couple of dudes tell me how the inspectors are aging out. And then you go back to, why did we shut down all the meat plants because of COVID? Like, the workers can't go work, and that's an issue. And the new, dude, we have 55-gallon drums of hand sanitizer on our almond ranch now. Are you fucking kidding me? Hand sanitizer. I mean, dude, just go wash your hands.
Yeah.
Like, the faucet's right over there. There's some palm olive. You can just wash your hands.
Rub some dirt on your hands.
There's dirt on your hands, man. Rub it on your pants. If it doesn't come off on your pants, it's not going to come off on your food. You're fine.
Yeah.
So like, as for the supply chain issues, like, I just can't stress enough that the federal government is probably the fucking problem. There's too much money concentrated in too few hands, and the little dudes have been squeezed out of those markets. Now, you know, like, there's lots of apps now. There's lots of ways to get in touch with local producers of things. Fucking go outside your city and drive around. You see some cows in a field. Who owns that place? Go talk to that dude. I don't know. Do you bake them some muffins and go, hey, we're interested in buying a cow. If I can't buy one of your cows and put it in a freezer, do you know someone who sells beef? You know? Yeah. It's not really rocket science. It's just, you gotta realize that if people are taking pictures of empty grocery food stores, and there are other people who are like dedicated to debunking those pictures, those other people are probably robots. They're probably not real. They're probably an AI. Twitter is full of fucking reanimated bots and accounts from 2009 and 2011. You can't tell me all of these people have 47 tweets before 2020 or 2021, and then all of a sudden there's 1,500 tweets in 2021. You know, like, no, you didn't just find your Twitter account. The AI found your Twitter account. So, like,
well, I wasn't sure until I personally saw the empty shelves at my store. Like, we didn't see it for a long time. And the last time I went shopping, there were so many things just stripped bare. And I was like, what is going on? And
we haven't really seen that around here. You know, like, I
haven't seen it so much. There are a couple things here and there, like certain days of the week where things are just not there.
No.
But they seem to come back.
Yeah, it's like there's hiccups in the, like, that's been my experience up until last week, where there'll be hiccups in the supply. Like, they'll be out of it for a couple of days, and then they'll get a new load in. But lately I've noticed those hiccups are getting longer and longer. Some of the shelves are just bare. Like, a lot of like the shelf stable stuff is cleared out. Like, and a lot of people are talking about weird stuff like ramen. Like, there's no ramen anywhere. What does that mean? Like,
that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, ramen not being there is kind of terrifying.
The soup is gone. I'm the soup canner.
Like,
I have to tell you something. It's going to break your heart, Jessica.
I already know what you're about to say.
I don't really like soup.
I know.
My wife hates it. But you know what? Like, there are a couple soups that are worth my time. But most of them, that's a side dish. Give me a sandwich.
So what basically what you're saying is that the solution to that is to get local with your
Yeah.
own supply chain and
Yeah.
start, reaching out to farmers local to your
Yeah.
area. Okay.
I don't see any other way to do it. You know, my girl has always, my girl's moment of waking up type thing was Jade Helm. And so ever since then, she's sort of been like, yeah, shit's not right. And since COVID started, she's turned into a prepper, and God bless her. She's,
Yep.
I'll send you,
Yeah.
by the way, she's got this little canning top thing that comes, you know, like the food saver, whatever dealie. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a food saver canning top thing that fits over a mason jar, and it comes with an attachment to hook to your food saver. But like sometimes when you're doing powder or like flour stuff and dry stuff or wet stuff, you can't use the food saver because it'll suck back up into the food saver and then you break your food saver. So like you can get that little canning top thing, and then you go to Harbor Freight and get a brake bleeder, and you just pump this thing by hand. It's fucking great. She loves it. She's got a little plastic case, and she opens it up, and it's all blue and shiny, and she's all, I'm so proud of it. It's my coolest kitchen thing. She loves it. So
a brake bleeder.
Yeah.
Will my husband know what that is? All right.
Sure. I'll send you a link. Yeah, it's just a way to not break your food saver.
Yeah, no, and there's actually a problem with the food saver in that you can't do things that have liquid in them. So anything like even meats will have that little bit of liquid, and you have to. It's a pain in the ass. So
she freezes. She'll make soup, you know, and like some of it goes in the fridge. She'll freeze it in those food saver bags. I don't know how she does it, and then she just lays them flat on a tray, and then when they're frozen, it all stacks.
That's my girl.
Just heads up though. Just get a big pot of water, and you have your bag rather than a food saver, like a gallon size bag. You just dip it down into the water, and all of the air escapes. You zip it up.
Yeah.
That's how I do all of my sous vide steaks. You don't have to have a food saver.
That's
nice
fair
to have one, but I'm just saying if you're not gonna go and spend $120 on a food saver, like
I spent
you can do
$10 at the thrift store.
Dude,
yeah, they're pretty cheap now.
Dude, I can't find one under $120.
You need to go to the thrift store.
Go to Aldi.
Aldi's
got it.
I've never been there. What's up? Isn't that a grocery store or something?
Yeah, it's
you'll love
like
it because it's German.
Yeah.
I do love efficiency.
Yeah.
Aldi is the best. Like if you want to be able, like, of course, you know, I have 5 children, so it's not as cost effective as it used to be. When we just had one child, we would spend $40 a week on groceries.
Nice.
Now
Aldi's the best.
It's not like that.
4 blasts and my wife ago, the grocery bill was much easier. It's a pretty good one.
Before I filled her with my seed, it was much cheaper to go to Aldi.
Dude. It's an awesome flex, but it's actually a little gross. I'm sorry I brought it up. My bad. Sorry, Jess. My bad. I don't know. So how do you know, what's an almond farmer, man? In California, it's dealing with the state, man. The state wants the water, and they're gonna get it. They passed a bunch of laws, and they're taking people's groundwater. They're gonna end up eventually, you know, those fucking smart meters that a lot of different places end up getting. Oh, yeah, you got a smart meter now. All that's going to do is allow them to turn your deep well on and off. If you have, you know, if you're not like, is your well on a diesel generator or solar power or a windmill or something like that? Because if it's hooked up to PG&E or wherever, then good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, can I say a secret phrase real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the secret phrase for the 2 NFTs is organic menthol tobacco.
Awesome. Okay, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
No, because I made it up. I was looking at this cigarette pack over here.
Okay.
But it's a brand thing. I'll run with it. No. Okay. So organic menthol tobacco to Unwhipped Spoon on the Twitters. And when we get out of here, I'll check my DMs, and I will DM the timestamp winner, and I'll need your ETH address. So
Okay.
good luck, y'all.
Whip, you're a joy.
I love you, buddy.
It's like I what's funny is when I first got into that group chat, it was a fairly different situation. It was led by different people. It was kind of, and I was just like, and I remember when I first started talking to you, but there were other people that I was like, how old are these people? 20? How these are children.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Oh, there's a decidedly older demographic in there now. Good
and I
Lord.
love it because it's like we all have like the same level of damage over the years, that it's very different damage for each person. But there are these moments that happen in that DM where it's like lightning in a fucking bottle, where everyone's there, we're making our jokes, we're on point, we're moving, and it's beautiful. And you and everyone that's in there now, like friends for life kind of situation. And I didn't
Yeah, I
expect
feel
that.
No,
You know what I
it's
mean?
fucking Twitter. It's
Right.
designed to make you feel part of a tribe, but isolated from other people. All of these apps are all bad for us. They're all fucking bad for us. So if you find a tribe that you connect with that is healthy for you, if you find people who, whether they share one viewpoint out of 10, you know, you got to find those little, I can get along with you for this, and I can get along with that dude for that. And maybe that's the only thing we can get along with, but there's always fucking something. And all of these apps take that something, take that little spark of humanity, that little spark of divinity that's in all of us, and they push it to the side. And they make it not readily accessible, but it's really easy. It's right fucking there. People talk about go touch grass, go do all this other shit, but literally it's just, dude, find some people and connect with them in one way and work from there. And that's really how you fight a lizard. The lizards have made so many laws, you know, that everybody's a felon in some way. And if you piss off the powers that be, you're gonna be Michael Hastings. Your Mercedes is going to go 150 something fucking miles an hour down Ventura Boulevard until it explodes against a palm tree, and then they're going to find traces of Adderall in your system, and you were probably on meth and you're a degenerate. Never mind that you just unearthed a giant story about the current regime. You know, there's always something.
Right.
And so, like, all the talk of the boogaloo, the this, the that, the other, dude, all of that talk is in some way detrimental. You know, ridiculing people for voting. Man, I don't like the Constitution. I think it's a fucking coup against the Articles of Confederation. And I think the fact that we wrote down those rights that they couldn't fuck with, I think that's one of the greatest documents ever to exist in the history of this world. And I think the Articles of Confederation, man, I don't know as much about it as I should, but I do know that the people that fought in that war, that's the document they fucking signed. And my schooling didn't teach me that. They said, oh, it was kind of weak on trade. But what it didn't tell me was that everyone who signed the Constitution committed a fucking coup against everyone else in those fucking states.
Yep.
So, like, anything that you do is going to end up you're going to end up catching a fucking charge. You're going to be the one lone autist in a circle of 15 people, 14 or 13 of whom are either federal employees or paid informants. And then you're going to kidnap a governor. And, you know, like, you can't win that way. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I see some people taking local action, but I think that's the only option there really is. You know, You can arm yourself. You can train. You can. You got to do all the things. You got to be self-sufficient. You got to learn money. You got to probably fucking try to learn some crypto, honestly. And you should probably try to learn some crypto that isn't about to be turned into a federal digidollar. You know,
Yeah.
They're gonna take the meme about the money printer going burr. It doesn't actually. It all happens on a fucking computer screen anyway, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, and so they'll put it on a blockchain. They'll call it a blockchain. It'll be fake as shit. It won't be real, and it won't have a real store of value. But what it will do is allow them to make a bunch of shitty laws that will make whatever. But it doesn't fucking matter because that stuff already exists.
Yeah.
If they shut down the internet, there's mesh networks. Like they let the genie out of the bottle. And the last couple of years, we've seen them try to fucking cram it back in there, man. But it really doesn't want to go. Ghost guns. It doesn't want to go, man. And the narrative is collapsing. The harder they push narratives, the faster they get debunked by retards, by people who proudly call themselves autists on anonymous websites, people who call themselves plain fags, track things for the sheer joy of it, because that's how their brain works. And no matter how many trillions of dollars they print and throw at propaganda and legalize it, those dudes are still going to be there, and they're still going to be debunking a narrative. What are you going to do? Just try to be self-sufficient, learn some fucking skills, learn a trade, learn 3 trades.
Well, and that's kind of one of the things that's frustrated me the most personally is I was lied to.
Yeah.
My whole life.
Yeah.
That I needed to go to college, that I needed to do this, I needed to do that. When I should have learned how to weld. When I should have learned how to do these different things. That I knew a guy who was 69-ish, nice, who was a plumber. And he would bring in $400 to $700 a day doing a day. And I have a college degree and I'm scraping by because I bought their bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Because and you mentioned the Constitution, and it's like there are some good parts of the Constitution. Like I don't know if I've argued with Monica about this on the propaganda report, but I've made my view known that the Bill of Rights was kind of a mistake because most people read the Bill of Rights as this idea that these are my rights and these are the rights that I have, and they've been codified by the government rather than realizing, And so it's like there's some good things that came from the Constitution in a sense, but it came with the biggest lie that we've been told in our entire lives, which is we the people. We are not the government.
But if
we never
that's
will be.
The rules, if that's the rules that we're all playing under, then that's the rules we all fucking play under.
But it's not. It's the problem.
But they only have the right to rule us when they rule us right. Mass recall, when we accept it, mass recall should be on every ballot. And every time a new legislator gets voted in, every new session, all laws should be immediately scrapped. Maybe there's a purge couple of weeks that maybe they'll just get their job done if there's a purge situation while they have to rewrite all the new laws for this session.
That's not going to happen, though, unless the people who are fighting with each other realize that they have to direct their energies upward.
And that's why the we the people lie is so insidious. Because they've been told that they are the government.
The social culture war that we're in right now is keeping so-called lefties and so-called right-wingers from actually directing any of the energy that should be directed at the government from going in that direction.
Where is the anti-war left over the past 10 fucking years? Are you kidding me?
Where is anybody on anything? They're all pointing at each other. Everybody's pointing at each other instead of upward, up at the system.
even the
man.
so-called libertarians
Hmm.
are bolstering this anti-Russian propaganda right now.
No
I'm
Russian
just
ever called
saying.
me Latinx.
But that's the thing. Like, that's what's beautiful about the group chat that we're in. These friendships that we've created that transcend Twitter is we latched, like, we're not all degenerates, even though we call ourselves that. We're not all these terrible people, or the Fed posting with some of us is tongue in cheek, but we found the humanity, and the humanity was found in humor. The
Yeah.
humanity was found in mocking
Yeah.
the system and mocking the people who hold us down. And that to me is beautiful. I think that we've got there are little pockets of humanity that are still human.
Mhm.
And if we can build those pockets, if we can share what we've done or what we're trying to do to people who are receptive to what we are and who we are and what we, and I think that if you want people to be receptive to who you are, you have to be a person worth following, a person worth listening to. And for me, an almond farmer in California is a person like that. For
Thanks, buddy.
me, a housewife Orthodox Christian in Georgia is someone like that.
Don't follow me.
Me,
I
don't
don't know
follow
where I'm
me.
going.
Don't follow me. I'm retarded. But but I think it's beautiful that the internet and social media, despite its drawbacks, makes it so that we can outpace the official narrative
Yeah.
Yeah.
very easily.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It is kind of wild that a bunch of R words on Twitter with memes brought down the COVID narrative. I can't say I know. It's not like you're pointing and be like, there's one over there. It's not what we mean by that. But like, I don't know. I just
Are you guys enjoying World War III?
How is it that every time there's just this hint of war, it's always World War III?
No,
It's
Cameron.
almost like
No,
the
it's not
History
that.
Channel.
No, we're in
and
it. No, we're in it.
No,
No,
but
we're
listen,
in
is
it.
it with each?
but the
What do
way
you mean?
people
Is it
think about it,
is
the
it
way
with each
people
other?
This war isn't
it's information.
fought
It's
with
an
bombs.
information
Yeah,
war.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is, anytime someone mentions war, like physical war in any way, it's automatically World War III, just like World War II, just like World War I.
No. Well,
Because of the History Channel, because of how we're taught about Hitler, how we're taught about this, that, and the other. It's kind of dumb. Like,
yes.
we've been in World War III, but it's been an information war.
I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
I would posit that I was born in a country that 20 plus years before I was born was the last time that country didn't fire a gun in another country's border. And I would posit that if I lived in a country that had been shooting inside other countries' borders until now, starting, let's see, I'm 45, 20 plus, let's call it 65 fucking years of shooting inside other countries' borders, I would say that we have literally been in World War III. And we have only in the last couple years seen the deleterious effects of what is now legalized propaganda and mind control programs.
Yeah.
How many mainstream media people interned for a summer at the CIA? How many Department of Transportation heads had an interview that, oh, I guess I failed at the CIA, and then went to the Middle East and then got a bunch of super weird posts and was like randomly random, and then just kind of went home and was quiet and was a mayor. The world is full of created people who can be called upon by the powers that be to fill a role. And they have already proven themselves through one deed or another. It's totally my belief. Totally just whip speaking. Dumb farmer with a GED. Don't listen to me. I don't know shit. However, standing in the middle of an orchard, listening to fucking stats for hours and hours and hours in headphones can allow one to kind of see trends. You see, you know, you can just we recognize patterns and data. And like, I'm not alone in doing this. I didn't think these things up, but people can put facts out and I can go, okay, there's a fact and there's a fact and there's a fact. Well, what's Occam's razor? Okay, well, And then like you think about like, oh, Hanlon's razor. Okay, so whatever you can attribute to, you should probably not attribute to malice, whatever you could attribute to incompetence or stupidity, right? But isn't that maybe sort of a gaslight?
No, I
Like
think
if I'm
I
trained
think
to
you're
believe
right.
that,
I think you're right, because I think this is the conversation that I've had with people who've worked for the government at different levels, and they'll go, no, you don't understand. These people are incompetent. These people are blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you didn't transcend that level. You saw the planned incompetence and obsolescence. You saw the things that you were supposed to see. There are people above the true believers and above the people who will do whatever they're told because they believe in the narrative that are crafting the narrative.
Yep. 100%. Those
But no,
people, they exist.
and I will say, I think that there is something to be said about trusting the farmer with a GED or the trucker with a GED or anyone with just a high school diploma. I'm not saying that there aren't people who go beyond that who are very smart and do very good things, but it seems to me that the more education, quote unquote, that I received, the more I had to deprogram myself from the official narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And if I think that there is something to the innocence and the common sense of someone who hasn't had to deprogram themselves from people who were specifically trying to make them believe what they're telling them.
I don't like people telling me what to do, and it's nobody's fucking business if I do.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's business if you do or Jess does or anyone listening does. It's none of our business what other people do. Like, fucking period, man. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Well, we've hit 2 hours, which is kind of our more official cutoff for the show because most people don't listen past that.
Sure.
So I have to ask you the question that we ask everyone, which, you know, we talked about fun stuff. We talked about sex spoons. We talked about all sorts of different things. But right now, as an almond farmer out in California.
You said it. You said the thing.
Almond rancher.
Almond.
I will say almond till I die. I also say pecan. I'm from the South. That is how it is said. But what in this world?
Wait a minute. Do you mean pecan?
No, I don't. What in this world, be it personal, local, global, etc., brings you hope? What's something that makes you want to carry on and motivates you to do the work you're doing outside of, obviously, the official narratives? What gives you hope?
I have a son.
Yeah.
And that's it. There could be countless other things that I could say that would seem deep and esoteric, but I have a son. And as someone who came real close to hitting bottom before my son was born, pulled it together for a bit, and then lost my shit and hit my fucking bottom. The fact that there is a little person in the world who I am responsible for is my white pill. Like,
yeah,
I get the chance. I got the blessing to go, hey, little dude, God put a paradise here, and we were granted the opportunity for our consciousness to come down and inhabit this body. And I don't need to say any more than that. It's just the greatest thing.
Well, and you're in a special place as well, because if you look at Christianity, if you look at the writings of the New Testament and the Old, it all points to Genesis. It all points to this beauty of creation where God gave us the power, the right, the authority to take dominion over the earth and to cultivate the ground and to make it beautiful. And you're a farmer. You are, through the work of your hands, through the work of your body, your mind, everything about you, you take the earth and create something that tastes beautiful out of it and share it with the world. And that is cool to me. You are doing something that I can't do at this moment, that we're all, in a sense, made to do. And so I respect that more than you know. And it seems like there's a lot of pandering towards truckers and farmers and all of that. But I think that some of that, especially government pandering, comes from this realization that we have a job to do, and that this earth is beautiful and something that was given to us to cultivate and to love and to cherish. And I think it's beautiful that you do that.
Thanks, buddy.
So beyond that, I have enjoyed talking to you. Like I told you when we started this, I didn't have any plans except to talk to you, because you're just one of the people that, for one, is just one of the most down-to-earth people that I know. But beyond that, I think you have some belief in us and what we do and what we're trying to do.
Sure.
And it touches us. But if people are interested in seeing what you do and seeing you point at things with a cigarette between your fingers, they can follow you on Twitter at Unwhipped Spoon. There was a secret phrase earlier. If you haven't messaged him yet, you're stupid. But you can get 2 free NFTs if you DM him at Unwhipped Spoon not on Tinder, on Twitter.
Not on Tinder anymore, buddy. I found a woman.
But you can do that, and you can start your NFT collection if you haven't already. But beyond that, thank you for coming on. You're one of my favorite people, and I'm glad I got to spend 2 hours talking to you.
Fucking ditto, Cam. Likewise. Likewise. Jess, nice to finally talk with you.
Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun talking to you today. I hope we do it again soon.
On.
Yeah.
Likewise. Likewise.
And so you can jump off if you'd like, but I've got to tell the rest of the people what's coming up.
Do your thing.
So this month, February, we're officially moving into February. This is the last of January. We're going to start in this next month with Stephen Ignoramus, a friend of Jessica's and a friend of the show. And we're just going to chat. It's also, he is just an interesting person who pushes boundaries, who looks at things differently. It's going to be a fun conversation. After that, our very good friend and the love of my life, Brad Binkley, will join us on February 9th for a Valentine's Love Fest. After that, we're going to welcome back Troy Frazier from Revived Thoughts to talk about St. Valentine and where the holiday of Valentine's Day came from, and not in the cynical way of, oh, it's a Hallmark holiday. We're going to talk about a saint. It'll be fun. And then finally, to cap off Black History Month, as well as Love Month, as it were, we're going to have Nick and Lizzie Picone from Misfit Family come on. They have had being a biracial couple, they've had a very interesting life, and they've had a very interesting connection that a lot of people don't get to see inside of. And so we're going to kind of talk about that and see what that's like. Beyond that, if you want to support us, we do appreciate it. The best way to do it, patreon.com/themadOnes. When I am, I put it in my calendar this time because I'm stupid and sometimes I forget things. But we're going to do a Zoom hangout and probably play some games. February 1st. If you want to join us, patreon.com/the Mad Ones. If you want a shirt, a mug, or a tank, tanks are the best. wearethemadOnes.com/store. I'm on Twitter at Cam Harless. Jessica's on Twitter at SoupCanarchist for now. It may change. We'll see. And then we also are, if you want to watch on video, if you're listening, you can watch on YouTube live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's going to be on YouTube, Rockfin, and Odyssey. Beyond that, we do a Bible study as well. So if you're interested in reading through Acts or whichever book we go to next, send me a message on Twitter and you can join us. I think that's all we've got. Got anything else to say to these very fine people before we go, Whip or Jessica?
Hey, yeah. Really just find something to connect with people. Find that one thing.
Yeah.
Start with your neighbors, but especially realize that, people online are people too. And usually a kind word and a thoughtful comment go a really long way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, like I said, thank you for coming on. And for the rest of you wonderful people who follow us, you have a chance to be a light in the world. So go light it up.